Yes, happy Monday and welcome to the first edition of the Emotion Room. I ain't gonna lie, it sounded better in my head and now I'm saying it out loud. It don't sound that great, but this is where we're at. And what a way to start this show. Ruben Amorim sacked today after a crazy, crazy press conference. I want to welcome Dan Talks Football. His link is in the description. Please go and subscribe and follow him there. We're going to try and make these shows as quick as possible, not because we don't have the time, but the truth is we want to make it sustainable so we can both do it moving forward because we've both got families,
Definitely.
etc. So straight into it, Dan, before we talk about the sacking, before we talk about anything, where were you at post Leeds game in regards to Amram in, Amram out? Tell us all about it, mate.
Yeah, so um, I was hammering him for a long time, and for me, I wanted to give him the opportunity, the chance. And we've probably talked about this before, David, where I like the guy, and I think he was refreshing when he came into the club. I think he had the swagger, he had the style. It was new, he was fresh, he was young. Always knew that he was going to be on that learning curve because he's still quite a relatively new manager, as you know. Most of his experience was sport in Lisbon. So when he first came in, I was quite excited about it, to be honest, because it was a new system, 3-4-3. We're not used to that at Manchester United. So it was something just to think, okay, we've tried everything else. We've tried, and we'll probably get into this anyway, but we've tried different types of
Hmm.
coaches, as you know. We've tried that sort of nostalgia stuff with Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. We've tried experience
Hmm.
through Mourinho, Van
Hmm.
Gaal. We've had it
Yep.
all. We've had that sort of almost prem proven with Moyes straight after Fergie. So it feels like we've done the full cycle. So to go to someone like this coach, which I did label him a hipster, if I'm honest, and what I mean by that is that sort of in thing for now. Is he going to be good? But you're sort of looking at what he's been doing at his last club and thinking, yeah, he's the hipster for now. But it was something different. And it was something that you could sort of buy into and think, right, it's completely different to what we've been doing before. Let's go for it. So I was hammering him for a long time. Now, what I didn't like was how he came in a sense, because he didn't want to come in partway through the season, as you know.
Very true.
I could see why he wanted to come in at the start of a season because his philosophy is completely different to what we're used to. So I got all of that. So I was giving him time for that reason. And then I got to a point where I sort of sat before he got sacked was hammering doubt, because I was saying on my channel, are you sort of hammering out? Are you hammering in? Are you hammering doubt? And I was sort of in the middle. And it can sound a bit fencing, but it's more about, it's almost like I like what he could bring to the team, but he's also not being backed for me as well properly. Now, again, we'll come on to that as well probably, but
Hmm.
how much money's been spent? So people think, oh, he's been back because a bit of money's been spent. But you know yourself, David, he hasn't got the players that he needs to play his 3-4-3
Hmm.
system. So there's that element what sort of held me back from hammering out. But the
Got you.
doubt side of things is that for me, I think he could have got better results up to now. And I think that's where I was kind of sitting, that could he do better with this squad? Yes, the squad's not how it should be, but could he do better with the squad? But yeah, so I was sort of on that hammering doubt sort of thing, and I wasn't surprised by the sacking. But I'll let you come in and say where you were at. But I was on, like I
Yeah,
say, hammering doubt for me.
I think my viewers know my journey and you kind of do as well, but I'll briefly go
Yeah,
through it. I mean, I was happy we assigned a Portuguese coach. Listen, I'm Portuguese,
yeah,
and
you've
I
got
know I look as
Portuguese, yeah,
I know I look as ginger and as Scottish as it comes. But believe it or not, both my mum and dad are Portuguese. I speak the language fluently, so I was happy to see the man in there, right? But to
yeah,
cut a long story short, no manager bounce. He was absolutely shocking from the start, right? And fast forward to that Spurs final. I remember seeing him in the tunnel before we went out, mate, and he looked like he was shitting himself. And
yeah,
I understand he's a young manager. I understand he's new to the game, but if you look like you're shitting yourself, it doesn't send the right message to the players. And let's be honest, we
no,
shit the bed in the final as well, didn't we?
yeah, yeah.
Um, I
Very
was
disappointed
kind
with the
of,
final.
yeah, I was already kind of in the place where let's part ways with him now in the final. But,
Yeah,
but, but I understood why he kept his job. He's only had we basically writ off last season, and I've never heard of Manchester United writing off any season, but I accepted it. We have to accept where we are. We haven't won the Premier League in 14 years, right?
Yeah.
So fast forward, the start of this season was also shocking. Pre-season shocking. I didn't see any improvements under this system.
Yeah.
Fast
Yeah.
forward, he won those 3 back-to-back games, only lost 1 in 10. He started changing his formation, and I started thinking, hang on a minute. Maybe, just maybe, this is heading in the right direction.
Yeah.
Then
Yeah.
the Wolves game came, mate, and he went back to his formation.
Yeah.
Shocking
I didn't
performance.
understand that. Didn't understand that.
Shocking performance. Last game came. I thought, give him benefit of the doubt. He'll probably realise that, listen, we've got to mix it up. I was saying in my videos, it might be a secret weapon for us that teams do not know how we're going to line up. Let's utilise it, right?
But he
He
was pissed off about that, wasn't he? Because it seemed like that was getting leaked. His fact that he was going to change the system slightly,
totally.
and I can see
Anyway,
why he got pissed off. But yeah,
he lines up against Leeds, and listen, I'm not saying that's a bad result considering the players out, but that
yeah,
was a bit of a dead performance. Also, it wasn't what we had seen when he had changed
no,
formation.
no,
But to fast forward to today's sacking and to answer the question that I asked you, I was very much in the camp of give the man time. I've seen some improvements, and judging by his history at Sporting, he eventually seems to get it right. Let's see where he lands at the end of the season.
yeah,
However, I don't know where you're at with this, and this is where my question comes in. Did he sack himself in that last press conference? I'm starting to go into the camp, Dan, that he wanted to be sacked, that he's had enough of this job and he couldn't take the pressure anymore. There is stories coming out today from Ben Jacobs, etc. I saw it on the
mm,
United stand that they had a clear the air meeting after the Wolves game
yeah,
where Wilcox said to him, "You need to adapt a little bit with your tactics here, pal."
yeah,
And he also reiterated to him that they weren't going to back him in January. I think
yeah.
all of this put together, the man said, "Bun this. I'm going to take my 15 million and I'm just going to do the craziest press conference, go in and sack myself." What do you think?
No, I felt the same. I think after I saw that press conference, I was like, you have sacked yourself here. And if you haven't, you're very close to it. And I do think that Sir Jim was sort of an advocate for him to a certain degree. But I thought when you start to go after people, so he didn't mention any names, he wouldn't do that. But you could tell he was going after Wilcox and basically saying, I'll do my job, you'll do your job. And also the fact that he's then
Mm.
very strange. I don't know what you thought about it, but when we started talking about being the manager and he's being brought in to be the manager, not the coach, that
What
was a
did you
bit
understand
strange.
from that? What did you understand from that? Because I've got my view on it.
Yeah, I mean, tricky one really, because I think he seemed to be unveiled as the head coach. And I think they were trying to wrestle Ten Hag into being a head coach because they didn't want him to have that veto, if that's correct. They didn't want
Mm.
him to have a massive say on transfers per se. They'll probably listen to him. And because at the end of the day, what you can't do, or for me, what you can't do is, especially in Amorim's case, is that if you've got a distinct system, which it needs particular players to play that system, I think you've got to have some form of say as the coach
Mm.
because you know best what player is going to fit your system. I appreciate. I mean, I'm in two camps on this one because it's quite funny actually listening to. I know going off the tangent a little bit, but
Yeah, go for it, mate.
it's funny how there's certain content creators that I've listened to, and maybe other maybe ex pros and stuff, where 1 minute it's sort of the coach should have all the say or the manager should have all the say like Fergie did. And then next minute when that's not working, it's like, oh no, we should have a strong board and we should maybe have a principal like Bayern Munich and maybe Barcelona and
Mm.
some of these bigger clubs that the board does a lot of the decisions. And we feel that we should be able to buy players for the club and not players for the coach.
Yeah.
So which is right, I don't know. So
I think we've
going
tried
back,
both now, not to cut you off, but I
yeah,
think
I think we have.
the reason we were told to do that second option where we buy players for the club, we buy players for a style of play, it's because we went down the LVG route, we went down the Mourinho route, where
Yeah,
buy players that these managers want, and
yeah,
we end up with a team of players that the next manager doesn't want.
yeah, yeah,
However, not I'll let you continue in a second, but from what I understood with the manager coach role, I think he's been given players he doesn't want, like Sesko.
hmm,
And I said this as soon as he got Sesko, because he was playing Mason Mount as a false nine ahead of Sesko. I'm
Yeah.
sorry. If you've signed a player for 74 million, out and out striker, and you've got no other option, you're playing Mount ahead of him, that shows me you don't fancy him, right?
Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
think there's been a few players that he's been, Sesko being one of them, that have
Yeah.
signed that he did not want. There was something in the summer as well that Wilcox made the choice between a striker or a midfielder. Shall we
Yeah.
buy a striker or shall we get a midfielder? My call, and you've seen me on the Football Terrace, and I've had back and forths with
Mm.
this, was that get the midfielder. I know
Yeah.
everyone was on top of Hoyland, but we've been dying for a midfielder since Michael Carrick. Get the
The midfielder was
midfielder.
more important. It was more important. Yeah.
You've just signed Cunha and Mbumo. I think there's enough there to improve service for Hoyland, right? I
Yeah.
know I know the fan base was against him, but there's enough service there to improve service for Hoyland. Get the midfielder. Wilcox chose the striker.
Yeah.
Already that's showing that Amorim potentially wasn't behind that. But I've kind of thrown you off here. From what I understood from manager and coach is decisions are being made for him and he's being asked to go away from his system. Now I believe the recent go away from the system wasn't even him, mate.
No.
I think it was
No.
I think it was the actual hierarchy. And then he went back to it to prove a point, and he had two shocking performances.
Yeah.
Mate,
Yeah. And
it's 15 wins in 14 months, mate. I don't know where you
yeah,
were at. Did he deserve to be sacked?
So I think overall, yes. And it's also, I think there's two questions. It's a bit of, does he deserve to be sacked? And does he deserve to be sacked right now? And I think there's a timing issue as well. So I haven't really had time today to think about it because obviously going back to work after Christmas, there's loads going on. I was barely concentrating with work, to be honest with you, with all this Amorim sacking stuff and so many different viewpoints coming in. But I think looking at, so I mean, I know we're going to go into it, but just looking into his record, because you've sort of touched on it there, and also finishing off in regards to him sacking himself, definitely think he sacked himself in terms of that press conference. Going for Wilcox was always going to be a big no-no. As you've said yourself earlier, I think they've had discussions. You're never going to know the full truth, but they've had discussions clearly before the Leeds game. That started tensions. I mean, I don't know if you saw those images. I mean, these days you don't know what's AI, what's true or what's false, but there was images of Sir Jim pointing at Wilcox in the stands, and it looked like there was a bit of an argument ensuing there. And I think at the time he might have gone a goal down or something, and there was definitely something wrong there. I can't remember. It was a few weeks ago.
Oh, okay, right.
It was a few weeks ago. I'm sure it was a few weeks ago, and I can't remember if it was a home game or not. And images came out afterwards where it looked like Sir Jim was pointing at Wilcox and was going at it, and sort of Barada's sort of like in the middle of them, not knowing what to do, feeling quite awkward. And I just thought there's fractions going on anyway in the boardroom, which you'd expect anyway. And there's a lot of strong-minded people there. But yes, I think what he said, going after scouts and going after Wilcox and whatever else and telling everybody to do their jobs, I think definitely that was going to cause fractions. Then when they have a meeting in the morning, they were definitely going to fall out over that because, again, you've said it yourself there. The thing is, when you've got Wilcox as the sporting director, he used to play football, he's an ex-player, he's going to have an opinion. I think he might have even coached maybe at youth level as well.
This is news to me, so I'm glad you've told me that.
Yeah, so I think when you are an ex-player and you've played for Blackburn, and I think you played in the side that won the league, you're going to have an opinion. It's as simple as that. I mean, us as fans have an opinion, but if you're an ex-player, you're not going to be able to help yourself when you're seeing something going wrong. And he goes to a lot of the training sessions as well, Wilcox, and he's watching the training sessions, which you'd expect from a Doff because he's supposed to do that. And I think, again, if you've got a bit of experience as playing as a player, you've been at Man City as well, so don't forget that. He's been at Man City, he's watched
Wilcox as well,
sessions.
not just, wasn't it Barada? So it was both of them.
No, Wilcox has been there as well. So he was in more of the youth setup before he went to Southampton. So I'm not sure
what strong opinions.
Yeah. So I think his role was more like youth development at City. So that's why the images have come out with Wilcox stood next to Maresca when Maresca was at City, because people think there's a conspiracy going on here where they've sacked him because Maresca's been sacked and let's bring Maresca in. I'm not sure that's the case, but people put two and two together, don't they? So I think when you see a setup like that, and Southampton are a decent side, they've played decent football over the years. I don't know if you probably watch when the certain coaches that have been there that have played really good football and what have you. So he's seen different setups. I mean, again, I'm not saying he's experienced or he should be a sporting director at Manchester United, a big club such as that. But again, when you're an ex-player, you're going to have your own opinions. You're going to see things. And if things are not quite how they were when you were playing, for example, you're going to say something.
Totally.
And I think that's probably why.
Hire a man. You do hire a man to do the job, right?
You do, but people can't. It's an ego thing. It's an ego thing.
Totally.
So many footballers got egos.
I can fix my car. I can fix majority of things on my car, right? But I'll get to a point where I can't fix it anymore, and I need to hire a professional. So people need to know their roles sometimes.
Yeah.
What I will ask you, because sorry. What I will ask you is, do you think they were going to sack him this morning, or do you think he was brought into the office and they just disagreed there and then and kind of parted ways? Or do you think they already had the intention to sack him this morning?
Yeah, good question, because I still have a feeling that between Sir Jim, Barada and Wilcox, there were probably differing thought process on this, to be honest. And I think it's probably bubbled over a little bit. So again, going back, I think you asked it earlier, possibly Amorim's got to a point where he's saying, I'm done. So him saying stuff like 18-month contract, you were pretty much saying he was going to go at the end of that. But I think he was sort of fast-tracking that personally. I think he'd had enough. And I think you've seen it yourself. I sent you a picture even where he looks so sprightly at Sporting. No grey hairs, smiling, ready for the challenge, comes to Manchester United like everybody else. Oh, you can see the stress marks on his face. You can see the hair change. It happened to Ole, it happened to Mourinho. It's happened to everybody. So I think he's gone in there and he's still top of his tree. And I think, again, there's an ego thing again, isn't there? So Jim's got an ego. Barada, I don't know too much about Barada because I haven't really heard much from him, but I'd say he's got an ego. Some of the jobs he's done in his career where he started is worked for a massive telecom sort of agency before going to Barcelona, and he's been at Barcelona and then he's gone to Man City. So okay, you don't come much bigger than Manchester United, but unfortunately noisy neighbours are seen as a big club now. So he's around ego people, he's around Pep, he's around Tix, he's around all these different names and people. So I think when you get them all into a room, it's all about who's got the loudest voice. And I think Amorim probably feels disrespected because some of the stuff he threw out, like, I might not be Conte, I might not be Mourinho, all this sort of stuff. I think it's
he feels undermined. He feels undermined.
Exactly.
What I will say to you, Dan, is if his results were better, the hierarchy would have come at him with a different energy. Do you understand? So he can't act like, if your results were better, pal, the hierarchy would have thought twice about bringing you into the office today and potentially giving you an ultimatum. We don't know if they have. Listen, I said this at the top of the show. Portuguese people are very emotional, mate. And I've liked that about him. He's got a certain charm. He's been honest from the start. I mean, he's had times after games where he feels like, I can't even do this job anymore. And then he's right back to it after saying, I'm ready to give my all. He's a very emotional man. I just definitely think the minute he saw that there was a glimmer of the board not wanting to back him anymore, he took it very personally and he was done with the job. I honestly believe this morning they weren't going to sack him. I don't think they were going to sack him because I honestly think, Dan, they were behind this man and following that Arteta blueprint. I've said this for a few weeks where just back the manager and he will eventually come good. But I honestly think Amorim maybe went into the office and he was kind of like, I'm fed up. You guys don't want to back me. You're not going to back me in January.
Only thing I'd say though, David, is I don't know about Wilcox and whether Wilcox wanted to sack him though. And the reason I say this is because I think he's behind Ashworth being sacked. and I think he's in the ear of Sir Jim all the time. And I think Sir Jim's got a lot of trust in him, and I think he's engineered. And maybe I may have got this wrong, but I think he's and also he's got Barada on his side because they're both City guys. Barada has brought Wilcox in, so them two have got an alliance straight away. Ashworth was an outsider, and I think Sir Jim, not knowing too much about football, he puts a lot of trust in Barada. I think the problem is that he sees them as, right, you've been at City, so you must know what you're doing. And he's put a lot of trust into these two men. And I think when Ashworth came in, he didn't want Amorim, did he? Now, I'm not saying that I wanted Southgate, and that was the rumours that he wanted Southgate, but he didn't want Amorim. And I think he was against a lot of decisions that they were going to make.
And that's why they got rid of him,
Yeah, and I think Wilcox is in the ear of Barada, in the ear of Sir Jim, and they've ousted Ashworth. And I think he's probably done similar with Amorim, is what I'm feeling. Now, they probably didn't get to the decision.
It was Barada that wanted Amorim.
Yeah, he was pushing for him, wasn't he? Yeah. And I suppose Wilcox probably got on board with it and thought, well, actually, I know what the 3-4-3 is about. He's seen it before. We can work with this. But the problem is nobody's thought about how we actually introduce that system into a team that's always generally played 4-3-3 or a similar formation to that. So it needed money. But anyway, that's another thing. So for me, I think Wilcox probably has a lot more to do with it than we all think. And I think it was probably bubbling before that. And I also think that Wilcox probably was, like you said yourself, pushing him to change his formation. Tweak the formation, basically saying, look, this isn't working. We've got a lot of players that are more suited to the 4-3-3. You're not sort of playing certain players like Mano and stuff like that. Let's try and tweak the system a little bit.
To be fair to Wilcox, though, he could have easily been like, this ain't working. Let's just sack this fella. He's never going to change. The fact that he's actually tried to have the conversation with the man and say, hey, listen, honestly, this isn't working as well as we'd thought. Is there room to maneuver this formation in a way? So I respect the fact that he's had the conversation with him. I mean, we don't know this. We're assuming this.
No, but we're just guessing. We're just guessing.
I honestly prefer that he's going to stick to the 3-4-3. I'm not even going to give him a chance to change it. Let's sack him now. So he's given him a chance. So, and it's funny you mentioned INEOS. It's funny you mentioned Dan Ashworth, because that was my next point that I wanted to make, right?
Yeah.
They're in last chance saloon for me, right? I'm not going to say rehired, that's the wrong terminology, but they basically rehired Ten Hag by giving him another contract when they shouldn't have, right? Yeah. They then went and got Dan Ashworth, like you said, and didn't back him for the reason they got him, which was footballing decisions, right? Yeah. Got rid of him, as we've just touched base on, because he didn't want Amorim. And in hindsight now, we're looking at that and we're thinking, hey, he may have been right. Yeah?
Yeah.
Then they hire Amorim and they back him all this way, basically give him free hits. He even charmed me as a fan to lower my standards and expectations. I have to admit to that.
That's a massive problem.
Yeah, he has done that, Amorim. Yeah. He's charmed me into a way where I've lowered my expectations.
People don't want to admit that. People don't want to admit it, and I think he's done it to most people, if not everybody.
I can admit it.
Maybe there's probably only people like Rants, I would say. There's people like Rants that I can't think of anybody else that were probably hammering out pretty early. But everybody else, he's probably charmed us into, like you're saying there, he's charmed us in terms of the way he talks. It's something fresh and new, and we've all been charmed by that, I think.
But here's my question. For me, they're in last chance saloon. I don't know about you, but that's not the question I'm asking you. Where do we go next? Yeah. What do we go and hire next? Because for me, we need to get best in class. And I feel, I'll quickly drill through this. I feel we haven't done that since post-Ferguson. Now, let me explain, because there may be people watching thinking, there you did, you got Jose Mourinho. Let me explain. Soon as Fergie was sacked, we went and got David Moyes. That's not best in class. Yeah. Wrong decision. For me, that was when Jose Mourinho was best in class. That's when we should have got him, but we didn't. Yeah? After Moyes, where did we go next? Was it Louis van Gaal next? I think it was Louis van Gaal next, right? He wasn't best in class at the time. Yes, his CV was excellent. He was practically past it, practically retired.
Yeah.
Wasn't best in class, After that, we then got Jose Mourinho, he was still a great manager at the time, but he wasn't, we have to admit it, best in class at the time. We then
Yep.
went and got Ollie. Sympathy, call it a sympathy. Maybe sympathy is the wrong word. He had a great run, and we gave him, based on emotions, what this show's called, the
Yeah.
emotion room. Based on emotions, we gave him the role. I'm nearly there
Ollie
now.
up the
Sorry.
wheel. Ollie up the wheel.
Then we went and got the next big thing in our next two appointments: Ten Hag and Amorim.
Yeah.
Since Fergie, we have not hired best in class. We have not done it. So before I tell you who I want, you tell me, where do we go next?
Yeah, tough one, isn't it? Because, like you say, it's going to be more difficult for anybody coming in now, because it feels like, and I hate doing this sort of rebuild or saying the word rebuild, but it feels like every time we get a new coach in, it's a rebuild. And it's now about, do we go almost short term to try and get a bit of a boost and get us somewhere where we need to be, and then wait for long term? Is there anybody out there that's long term right now? It's very difficult. And I've only got a few names rather than the name, because I just think I've been listening to other people's one and I feel the same. So you've mentioned stuff like United Stand, Football Terrace, and what Terry's been saying and stuff like that. And I just think it doesn't feel at the moment it matters who we bring in. We could bring in Zidane, you could bring in Ancelotti, you could bring in massive names, and will it make a difference? Because you need to get everything right at the top first. And that's what the difficulty is. But obviously, to answer your question, I did a video quite some time ago talking about who the next coach could be. And I had a few names. So there's names like Emery at Villa, for example, Glasner at Crystal Palace, even De Zerbi. Is he gone to Marseille now? Areola, if I pronounce his name properly, at Bournemouth. So they're the sort of names that are gettable in a sense, because obviously you can get unrealistic stuff, can't you? If I was to,
you might, not to cut you off, but you may say mine's unrealistic, but I don't think anything's unrealistic for Manchester United.
True. There is that way to look at it as well. I think I'd have like two lists. I'll have an unrealistic list and a realistic list. Now, obviously, it's always difficult. So I don't know where you stand on getting a coach that's coached at a rival before, for example. And there's a part of me that wants a coach that brings us back to what we used to at Manchester United. And people don't like the word counter-attack. And
I feel that's the best football we've played under Ollie, the counter-attacking football. I have to be honest.
And I think the reason that happened is because he played under Fergie. And he knows about that sort of fast transition. And again, the word transition sounds sexier than counter-attack. But he knows about the transitions, fast transition, attacking quickly. I want to see, and I was saying this the other day, and I know I've gone through different things where I've accepted that a coach that's got a system is the way to go because everybody else is doing it. But why do we have to go with what everybody else is doing? And I'm starting to think that a bit more recently. And maybe it's a bit of nostalgia, but I want a coach to give us that sort of feeling again that you get at Old Trafford, where it's attack, and it's wing play. I don't know if I like this inverted stuff where you get
everyone's doing
right. I know a right footer on the left and a left footer on the right. Now, if it works, it works, and I get it, and I don't mind it. But for me, I just want to. I'm not expecting to see Ryan Giggs again, for example, but I want to see some fast wing play, some crosses into the box. We've got Sesko that's 6'5", 6'6". No crosses come into the box, really.
We won't go in and slate him because this show's not.
Yes, no, but we'll probably come on to Sesko anyway. But
I'll be honest, mate. His heading's not great. His hold-up play's not great. I feel like he's focusing on controlling the ball rather than controlling the ball into space. I've been very underwhelmed by Sesko, if I'm honest. But to put you on the spot here, if you had to pick one name now to be manager of Manchester United, where would you go? Who would you get?
So I'll finish off on unrealistic.
Go for it.
It's probably something that is controversial, but I'd like a Klopp. And the reason I'm saying it is because of that sort of heavy metal football, as people call it, where it's quick, there's a bit of possession in there, but it's probably one of the closest to what Fergie played in terms of that. Again, they had good wingers in terms of Salah. They had Diaz that just went. They had Mane. I like that exciting front three that they had, and then they had a strong middle.
I don't think anything is unrealistic apart from that one. Unfortunately,
yeah, it is.
Right?
It's unrealistic.
Because
it's more about
Liverpool, right?
Yeah, exactly. Because of that link to Liverpool.
Where I would go, and I gave a big spiel about it earlier, we've never hired best in class since Fergie, and it's time we did. It's time we hired the best manager in the world right now that we can get, right? Realistically. And what I mean by realistically is we can't get a Pep Guardiola. We probably can't get a Jurgen Klopp, yeah? So who is the next best manager in the world? And before I say the name, right, I still feel that there is that allure, if that's the right word. There's still that thing of, if I can get Manchester United back to the top, if I can get Manchester United to win the Premier League again or a Champions League again, I'll be known as a hero of football. I'll be known as one of the best managers to ever live. That's the truth. And I still feel that opportunity is there. Go and get Luis Enrique. Pay whatever you have to pay.
He's on my unrealistic list. Because I had Klopp, I had Pep, I had Flick as well. I had Hansi Flick on there, and I had Enrique. And he's on my unrealistic list because I don't know if we could prize him from PSG, for example. But I would have said Enrique unrealistic. Unrealistic though.
Go for it.
I was from a video anyway. I was sort of edging towards Emery, and the reason being is because I think he didn't get the chance he probably deserved at Arsenal. I think he got hounded out in the end, but then he's gone away. He's proved himself. He's come back to Aston Villa, and I know he's not won much or anything like that, but it's just more about how he's got Villa playing. That's 2 seasons in a row now, so I was a little bit funny about it at the start of the season, thinking, "Oh my God, he's lost it," but he's come back round. It was kind of between him and Glasner, but I kind of went off the boil with Glasner because I just thought it's coming back to
the back anymore. I can't.
I don't want to see it anymore. I don't want to see it anymore.
I don't want to see it anymore. And it may have been Amorim bad at coaching it. It may just be that, right?
Possibly.
I cannot go down that avenue anymore.
I'm scarred now. I'm scarred.
I don't think the club does because they didn't make the youth academy play it, right? There's talk about Xavi, the 4-3-3, but I read something about Xavi that he couldn't take the pressure at Barca. That's why I gave it up. I'm not being funny. If you can't take the pressure at Barca, you can't take the pressure at Man United.
Definitely not.
Great comment here by Anthony. This is my second choice, Diego Simeone, because any man that breaks the mold between Real Madrid and Barcelona, and I know this goes against the style of play that you want and the excitement, but the aggression of this man, the passion of this man, this would be my second choice, and my third choice would be Unai Emery. Yes, just go get him out of Villa. Give the man another chance. I've argued that if he was in Arteta's shoes for 6-7 years, he may have won Arsenal a lot more. You know.
I think he set the foundation for Arteta, but it's you don't know now. But going back to you saying Enrique, then tell us: do you think we could prize him out of PSG, for example?
Mate, the amount of money we've tried to spend smartly. And what I mean by that is we tried to smartly rehire Ten Hag, so we didn't have to go and get a new manager. We tried to smartly hire Amorim, the next big thing, We paid 74 million or whatever it was for Højlund to try and find the next big thing. We paid 74 million for Sesko to try and find the next big thing. You add that together, that's 150 million. The point I'm trying to get to here, Dan, is stop this clever stuff. Stop being clever. Pay the money, you pay, what's the word? You get what you pay for, right? Do what it takes to go and get Luis Enrique out of PSG. He's achieved the treble at Barca. He's achieved the treble at PSG. For once in your fucking lives, go and get the best in class. This is your last chance, INEOS. Make it count. Pay the money.
But
Well, I mean, what would it cost to get him out of it? God knows. I'm not an accountant, but it
no.
must be possible, is what I'm saying. Do you see my point of view?
I always think it's a bit easier to get a coach than a player a lot of the time. But again, it depends on contract and contract length, all that sort of stuff. But okay, so obviously we both agree that Enrique would probably be a good coach for Manchester United. But how do you think it would work with the board, though? Because in my opinion, it's feeling like this board wants a yes man. And they're more leaning towards your McKennas and your Carricks and them sort of people. So how do you think Enrique would work at Manchester United? Because he's not a yes man.
Yeah, but I think INEOS have lost they know their reputation now is on the line. They're in last chance saloon. So I think they'll be more likely. Amorim said it himself. My name's not Conte. My name's not Jose Mourinho. My name's not Tuchel. He may as well have added it. My name's not Enrique. Because those managers demand a certain level of respect. And I don't care what football pitch you've been on. I don't care if you've worked at Man City. I'm talking about Wilcox and Berardi here. You ain't telling Luis Enrique, a double treble winning manager across two big clubs, how to do his job. So you're right. They may not hire that sort of person. I honestly think they're in last chance saloon and their next hire, and for once, needs to be a best in class. I'll reiterate, we've not done it. We've not done it. I'm going to go through some of these comments here because we've had a lot and I want to try and answer some of them. You know what I mean, mate? Because a few of these guys have been legends for me. Michael, did I pop this up? Amorim refused to adapt when even Alonso adapted in Real Madrid, the only club bigger than United in the world. If he had switched to a 4 at the back and a 3 in the middle, he would have won more. What do you think about that? It's a fair point, isn't it?
Yeah, and I think that's where the problem is, though, is the unwillingness to adapt. And I think, obviously, Alonso's got quite a distinct system as well. And it worked for him in Germany, but it might not work for you in Spain.
Yeah.
And also, if you're at Madrid, you've got to, and this is where there's, I've been hearing people earlier today saying, where's it worked where the board has control of what goes on in terms of signings and coaches coming in, you name it. And I just think there's a lot of examples of that, in my opinion. I think Real Madrid do it. I think Real Madrid board are more involved than people realize. I think Bayern Munich do it, for example. I think maybe PSG have probably given Enrique some of the reins a little bit because it's Enrique, but I think PSG
what I will say about
involved.
those three teams, sorry to interrupt, is I think they can afford to get things wrong and have some leeway. The Premier League is so flipping competitive, mate. You cannot afford to make a mistake. And I've made this point all week, even trying to back Chelsea a little bit with how they've been and the Maresca situation. Any league that has Pep Guardiola in it, you'll do well to win any silverware. That's the truth, right? I think Marv came back to Michael here. Yeah, but they knew he wasn't going to play that system. He told them, this is my system and I'm not changing it. They hired him anyway and didn't back him. It's a tough one, right?
But again, I agree with that because, and we were saying that early in the show, that if you're going to bring in a distinctive coach like Amorim, which is probably the first in the recent history anyway, of Manchester United to bring in a coach that's so different in his system, in the way he plays, you got to back him. And saying that you've spent 200 million, 250 million isn't backing in the sense of what I mean by backing. And it's got to be backed from the top, what I've said before, it's the culture. So I think he was working on the culture. I think a few coaches have tried to work on the culture, don't get me wrong. But I think one thing, if I'm going to give any credit to Sir Jim, I think he's tried to start working on the culture where it's players don't think the players are not running the show. The coach is the guy in charge. He's the guy in charge. You listen to him. And if you don't want to listen, you're out. And that's the sort of thing that I'm talking about from a backing from that point of view, but also monetary backing. So like we've got to January now. I know it's only the 5th of January and obviously he's sacked now. But before that, there was no real, other than Semenyo, which is another attacker again. Other than Semenyo, there was no conversation of how you're going to back Amorim's system. Are you going to give him proper wing backs? Because Dalot and don't get me wrong, I haven't minded Dorgu playing on right side as a winger almost, but you brought him in as a left wing back, and he hasn't been good enough for me. I know he's young and he needs a bit of time. I get that.
He's playing him right wing back this. Oh mate,
he's played all over the place. Yeah. So I just think don't get me wrong, and that's another thing because we mentioned it earlier about signings, and I think he's backed Cunha as a signing. I think he wanted Cunha. I think he wanted Mbeumo because in his head he wanted Premier League proven players that have played well over the last sort of few seasons. So they gave him two.
They were also two good signings, mate. But we didn't need both either.
We didn't need them both. Either.
We've had to play Bruno out of position all year. Right, bless him. Yeah. He already gets enough stick from the fan base. There's a lot of Bruno in, Bruno out. We're not going to go into that yet. I think he's absolutely fantastic, Bruno. And he's still creating the most chances in the league playing out of position. Right?
Yeah.
But we didn't even need a Cunha or get Mbeumo or get Cunha. Not both. Get a midfielder, don't get Sesko. So the transfer, and we've sorted out the goalkeeper situation too late as well. The point I'm making here, mate, and I think the viewers will agree, Amorim's as much to blame as the board. It's been shocking from both.
Yeah. Oh, this percentage blame across the board, don't get me wrong. The only thing I'm going to challenge on in terms of whether we needed Cunha and Mbeumo is more that for his system, he needed two number 10s that can play the system. And I don't feel he feels that Bruno could play the number 10 role because of what it requires in terms of that energy, the ability to beat a man, that sort of thing. Now, Bruno's very creative, but it's whether he's got that ability to progress the ball like Cunha can now. We'll probably have time to talk about Cunha in depth, but initially, if you look at, I always say, look at Wolves Cunha. I don't think we've got Wolves Cunha yet. Or he hasn't played like he played at Wolves. But Mbeumo started like he did at Brentford. So that's the type of players he wanted in these number 10 positions. And I don't think Bruno quite met that requirement.
Yeah.
However, where I do agree is that, did he need two number 10s straight away? Probably not. So you could have got Mbeumo on one side, put Bruno on the other side for now, and then got a really strong midfielder to phase Casemiro out, for example, because Casemiro wasn't leaving, was he, with that salary? And he's going to go in the summer, we would have thought. So I would have preferred him to get a strong midfielder and one of Mbeumo or Cunha, and then get another number 10 down the line. But he went straight with number 10s and then a striker, and that's where the downfall was for me. But I do think he backed Cunha, he backed Mbeumo. I think he wanted Watkins, not Sesko.
That argument's there, right?
Another Premier League proven.
Yeah, I did a video on that, and I wasn't sure where to go with it, but I was definitely in the Prem proven department. But then, to even bring that argument up now, Watkins has had a shocking season. And we can go off of recency bias because he scored those two goals against. Who was it against? Was it against Chelsea? Right? But, mate, he's not been great this season, and Emery hasn't fancied him. So it's a hard argument to have. And his age, right? And his age. But, I mean, Sesko, I hope he comes good. I really do. But he's not been the answer, man. I mean, I said it earlier, 70-odd million for Højlund, 70-odd million for Sesko. You put that together, you've got 150 million. You go and get an Osimhen. Dare I say it, if you want to get 30-odd-year-olds, you may as well go and get a Harry Kane for that money, and he would even be better, right? Yeah. We just keep making mistakes. And someone put in a comment here earlier. Here we go. I popped it up, but I'll pop it up again. 50 million to get him out of PSG, talking about Enrique there. When you look at the money we've spent and the mistakes we've made, even if it was 75 million to get him out of PSG, Dan, it's worth every single penny. Do you know what I mean? Yeah.
I think you've got to add up what it's cost to get rid of Ten Hag, what it's cost to get rid of Amorim just now, and we are chucking money at that. And I think if you can get the right coach in, you're not going to talk about how much it costs to bring him in if he's successful. And I think that's what we need to think about. And obviously, there's two camps in. There's we don't want to spend all this money, but why not? I think sometimes, and I get drawn into this and I think what the problem is there is that you'll know yourself going on Football Terrace, for example, you are battling with other fans of other teams, and you're always doing this thing of, oh, well, we didn't spend as much as you, and look where we finished. And there's always that battle all the time. But I think really it shouldn't matter how much you spent so long as you get success. And it's not our money. Yes, it is fans' money ultimately, but generally speaking, we shouldn't be too concentrated on how much we're spending on coaches and players, so long as the right people come in. And I don't. And there's so many players that's cost so much money where you don't think about the price tag once they start delivering. And I think that's what we need to think about and stop being so hung up on how much things cost.
Yeah,
because
yeah,
you never get the true story anyway, because certain teams get shown in different lights by the media. So sometimes, even like our wage bill, it's been portrayed that our wage bill is like the highest in the Premier League, but it hasn't been since probably 2018, 2017. So it's stuff like that where we shouldn't be so hung up on that.
Doesn't bother me. Man United is the biggest club in the world. Yeah, it's
exactly.
Up there.
We should be spending the most. We should be spending the most.
What bothers me is we've tried to be clever with our spending, and rightfully so. You can't be stupid.
Yeah, you can't be stupid. Yeah.
I think the time has come now to stop being clever with it. Right. Like I said, if you want the best, you got to pay for it. And since I've said it numerous times in this live, since Fergie, we haven't got the best in class at the right time. We haven't. Yeah. And I think it's time to do that. I want to add this picture to the stage. I've never done this before, so hopefully this works out.
I'm going to say, don't forget a couple of comments I think we might not have touched on. So we'll
I'll try and go through. Yeah, we'll come back to it afterwards. We're already on 45 minutes. So much for the half an hour. We'll try and do another 5 minutes and call it there, right? But you sent me this picture, and hopefully when I add it to the stage, it doesn't mash up our screen. So let me try it. What do we think? What? Sorry, my head's like blocking your face there a little bit on this. What do we think of this? This was taken after it's been announced. It makes me laugh, right? And fair play to the geezer. He's got 15 million in his pocket. His missus is grinning teeth, right?
Yeah.
And listen, how do you feel for those fans? Remember when Amorim said, I think it was after Europa League final, when he said, I'll leave and I don't even want compensation, right? If we don't improve. But now off he's gone and taken the 15 million. I make him right, by the way. But I mean, how do you feel about this? Are you happy for the man? Are you happy to see him with this smile?
Yeah, I am actually, because end of the day, I think he tried his best and I liked him as a person. So I know that doesn't count. And I think that's probably glazed me a little bit because I've liked him as a character. I liked some of the stuff he said. He was getting a little bit strange in his press conferences towards the end, but he was saying some truthful things. I know a lot of people didn't like what he said about the youth players and calling certain players out. I get all that. But ultimately, why should he walk away for free? Nobody else would.
Yes, true.
At the end of the day, you wouldn't do it in your own jobs. And I think that's the thing as well, is we forget that in our own jobs, we're not going to walk out and say, I'm not going to take compensation, or I'm not going to take my employer to the tribunal. You're going to do that. You're going to take what you can. And at the end of the day, football is a short career and management is a short career. And they've basically chewed him up and spat him out, sort of thing. And there's no loyalty in football. So, look, take your money. Ten Hag took his money. Ollie took his money.
Yeah. No, listen, I think he's done the right thing. Of course, take the money. They've given you a contract and you feel like they've not backed you when they should have.
It's nice to see him smiling, because I was worried for him. I was worried for him.
I did quite like him, like I said. I was very harsh on the man because I wanted him to do well. I wanted the Portuguese man, believe it or not, to take us to the promised land.
Of course.
I said it earlier in the video. The next manager to win us the Premier League becomes an absolute hero. I would love nothing more for that man to be Portuguese. But then, Dan, you see the man smiling, but then you see stuff like this. I took this picture last night.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you can see it. It's probably zoomed out a little bit. The fewest points by Premier League, over the last year. 15 wins, 58 points. Look at the teams above him. Look at the teams below him. I mean, it's shocking company.
And you start to think, the worst win percentage.
Did you deserve your payoff? You've been absolutely shocking, mate.
But if you sign a contract, everybody knows what the contract's about. You don't sort of think to the future thinking, oh, if I get sacked, I'm going to get paid this, or your employer's not thinking, what am I paying if you get sacked? You're not really concentrating on that. But at the end of the day, every coach signs a similar contract where if you get sacked, you get compensation. And we can't hold this against Amorim when everybody else has had compensation over the years. Look how many managers we've had. I mean, I'm just looking at a picture that I've sort of seen. And I don't know how many managers we've had in total since Fergie, but they've all had compensation payoff. So
you're totally right. It was just a question to you to think, like, look at him smiling. And he deserves what he's got. But then when you look at what he's actually, I still thought he was on the way to something, and I was
Yeah.
hoping that he was progressing us to somewhere. But if we forget the what ifs for a second and we stop where we are now, which is where we're stopping because he's done, he's finished. He's got to have been the worst manager post Sir Alex Ferguson, hasn't he? Wouldn't you agree? He's been our
Yeah.
worst.
Well, Sky Sports put something up earlier where they were looking at win percentages. So obviously Fergie was on about 65%, Mourinho was 53, Ten Hag was 51, Ole was just behind him with 51, but slightly less. I think 0.8 for Ten Hag, 0.4 for Solskjaer, and then Louis was on 51. Moyes was even on 50. Even Moyes was on 50, and for me, he was the worst. And then now you've got Ruben Amorim that was on 31%. Just short of 32% he was on win rate. Games 63, won 24, drawn 18, lost 21. That's shocking. I'm sorry, but that is shocking when you look at it. And I know, and I said it earlier, he came in partway through a season and then didn't really get a full season in a sense, but that's not good enough. If you're going to be a coach at Manchester United, that's not good enough. And he's way behind everybody else. And we were calling Ole. We were calling Ten Hag at some point. And when you look at the fact that Ten Hag's won cups, you look at Ole finishing, did he finish third or second or something? Mourinho won a couple of cups.
Mourinho also finished second, yeah.
They were getting us Champions League, some of these coaches. They was getting us back into Champions Leagues. So there was no sign of that with Amorim. And for me, that loss to Spurs and giving Spurs the first cup in how many years, that's a crime in itself.
Yeah, it was a sackable crime. It was a sackable crime.
That was horrible. Horrible.
It's funny. Like I was very much like sack the man now. But one thing I will say about the football terrace and being on that consistently is you get, and it's great, like you get other points of views. You get
I like that from other clubs and stuff. Yeah, definitely.
And not just other clubs, but other Man United fans too. And they give you another perspective.
Yeah.
And what I will say, that along with Amorim's charm, helped make me think. Do you know what? Even when we were second, we were nowhere near winning the Premier League, right? So maybe we need to just scrap it, like everyone said, and he had scrapped it. He got rid of Garnacho, got rid of Rashford, got rid of a lot of these bomb squad players. And with scrapping stuff, you're going to finish 15th. I still don't think that was unacceptable. But like I said, he had charmed me, and other people, panelists, had persuaded me that this is a patience game, right? And I thought to myself, do you know what? The man finished 15th last year with scrapping everything and starting with a new system. He's now 6th. Maybe we're on to something here. But now all the smoke has cleared. Now it's all said and done. It's undeniable that he was awful for us. It didn't work. And I feel like we'll finish on this and you can tell me what you think. I think our position in the league right now, I think Everton, who are 12th, are only 3 points behind us.
Yeah.
It's a bit of a false position and we've been very lucky to be in it. We could quite easily, under Amorim, have gone and finished 12th, 13th again. Easily done, even with Cunha and Mbeumo. So if I'm honest, when the smoke has cleared and people are going to knock me and be like, you were behind the man, you were saying give him time. With what he said at the end there, if I was his employer and he said, he said, in 18 months' time, I'll move on, the next man will come in and we'll all crack on with our lives, basically is what he said. I'm not being funny. If I was his employer, I would have sacked him this morning as well. So it was the right decision. It's time to move on. I don't know how you feel, mate. Do you think he would have got us 6th? Do you think our current position is true or false?
So just to play devil's advocate before that is, where did you have us finishing before a ball kicked? And I'll say I was
thinking if he gets anything top 10, whether it be acceptable or not, I was worried last year, Dan, that he could get us relegated. I was actually worried. It was actually a thing. And, you know, if he could get us top 10, I guess that's progress. And the reason I was being a little more patient is because of other panelists, because of Terry, the host of Football Terrace, telling me, be patient, Dave. You've got to give it time. We haven't actually given managers time to kind of scrap things and start again. And, you know, you take all of this on board and you think, you know what, they've all got a point here. And I honestly didn't think he was going to be sacked. So I came to an acceptance, mate, that I've got to wait till the end of the season and see where this is at. along with the free wins and the improvements of stuff, as I explained. Yeah. But if he had finished sixth, mate, I think that's a fantastic finish in context.
Yeah.
But yeah, go. I mean, you go for
no,
it.
it's because I had us finishing around that sort of 6th, 7th mark. So I think the problem is, it's almost like you're not allowed to change your thought process throughout the season. And I will react to certain things. I try not to be reactionary, but I will react
normal.
to. Of course, it is as a fan. There's emotion there and everything. And I think I've said it before in videos myself, where half time you're 3rd or 4th. By the end of the game, you're 6th or 7th. So when you know it was a possibility. So like now, I don't know what points we should have had. Well, I say should have had. Should you have had them if you didn't get them? But anyway, what I mean by that is that we were in for having a certain amount of points, which would have probably put us in around that 3rd position, probably, if we'd have got the points. And the reason why I say should have is because we should be beating Bournemouth. When you score 4 goals against Bournemouth, you should be winning that game. You shouldn't draw to West Ham 1-1 at home. You shouldn't. I think we had the opportunity to.
Game. We should have won the Forest game.
Yeah,
and you're not going to like. I mean, I'm not sure whether you're going to like it or not, but maybe some of the viewers won't like it. Sesko was brought in to win games like that.
Yeah,
Sesko was brought in to score goals that win games like that, and he's had opportunities in some of those games. And
one of the things that pissed me off. And I don't which game was it that he got injured? So pretty much straight after that chance,
he was through on goal. Yeah. He was through on goal. And he fluffed it.
Oh, that pissed me off because I just thought that was an opportunity, and I don't know if that was going to bring us level or put us in front. I can't remember now. And fair enough, he got injured, but I just think before that though, you haven't reacted quickly enough in that scenario. And if you're a top striker on top form, you round the keeper or whatever it was. I'm trying to remember how the chance went now.
Yeah,
and I just thought that was criminal.
And I think he's kind of kicked the floor / kicked the player and then done his knee. Look, he's young and I feel bad not being patient with the man. And maybe the system didn't help him, right? But Wilcox made the decision to bring this man in to put more goals into the team. He's been shocking. And if it weren't for Xerxes coming on yesterday, we would have lost yesterday.
Yeah.
Right?
But the one thing I've been saying, though, about Sesko is, and I don't know if you've I didn't watch loads of him because I don't really watch Bundesliga, but
YouTube clips.
I'm not, exactly the same. I'm not, I'll mention stats in my videos, but I'm not fully tuned into stats because I think there's more to the game than stats. However, I will, eye test. I will look at stuff like XG. And he scored a lot of goals that were above his XG. So outside of his XG, outside of expected goals. Outperforming it. So for me, when you've got a play, and I mean, don't get me wrong, I think Cunha outperformed it, and I think Mbumo did as well last season. But Sesko massively outperformed his XG for me. And I think he was scoring a lot of wonder strikes. So I don't know if you remember that famous one where
outside of the foot. Of course. We've paid 74 million for scoring that outside of the foot. Yeah. I'll be honest, mate. I can sign up for Footy Addicts. I'll sign up to Footy Addicts. For the viewers that don't know what Footy Addicts is, it's an app that you can sign up to where a bunch of people, unknowns, meet up and play football local to you. I can get lucky and score that goal on Footy Addicts now, mate. Honestly, I know that's harsh, but I've been massively underwhelmed by him, mate. Massively.
Yeah, but he scored a lot of goals from outside the box. He has got power in his shot, which we haven't seen. He's got a wand of a foot, but we haven't seen it. And like I said, a lot of the goals
Wolves, before he was subbed off, where he smacked it with his left foot and hit the crossbar. He was unlucky there, but
he was unlucky.
I'm in the camp now. You've got to score these, man.
I mean,
you're 74 million.
But look at the chance he got that Xerxes did a cutback against Leeds, and he's just—I don't even know what that was.
Mate, Xerxes came on. He sets up Cunha. He sets up Cunha. And then that chance you're talking about, he's played at least 3 or 4 1-2 Xerxes and then put it on a plate for Sesko.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you right now, McTominay would have finished. He had a header where he was offside. McTominay would have put that in the back of the net, right? Yeah. And that chance you're talking about, McTominay would have scored that as well. So it's just, I hope he improves and maybe a new manager
hitting the target enough for me. Possibly, but it's some of it might be a confidence thing, because one thing I struggle to sort of forgive Amorim for, in a sense, is that when he was on, I can't call it a scoring run, but he scored 2 in a row and he was on for 3 in a row and then he dropped him. Now, he could say it's a tactical change, let's say, but I think if you've got a striker that's young, that's been struggling for confidence, builds his confidence up because he's on 2 in a row now, why do you want to derail that? And I think that's some of his stubborn nature that he had as well, Amorim, where he wanted to go over tactical, over form or what have you. And I just think that stunted his run. Now, again, we might still be here even if he did play him in that game. But my point is that he didn't seem to recover since then. And then he's been injured, and then it's just been a bit of a shit show for him, really. But anyway, that's Sesko.
Listen, we are where we are. We've just hit 1 hour, mate. And listen, it's been amazing talking to you. And I think this would be a great show moving forward, doing this together.
It's been a crazy day. We're not going to get days like this all the time, though, when you're getting the manager sacked.
I feel like the chemistry's there. We've had a good conversation, mate. Believe it or not, viewers, we've not actually spoken properly like this before. We've had back and forths in messages and stuff like that. This is the first time we've actually spoken. So, mate, you are fantastic. Thanks for coming on this. And let's hopefully do this weekly or every other week. We'll try and figure something out. But I hope you've enjoyed it as much as me.
Definitely.
Guys, please go and subscribe to Dan Talks United. He's smashing it. He's nearly on 1,000 subscribers, and you guys can see why. The guy articulates himself amazing. He's not as emotional as me. He can stay calm. He can stay calm and actually speak some sense, unlike me. So please go and subscribe to him. SJG414 says, fantastic live. Really enjoyed it, guys. I appreciate it. If you're new here, please subscribe to me, and please go and subscribe to Dan. But Dan, I think let's finish it there. And I'll touch base with you, throughout the week now. But let's try and do this show next week, I hope, mate.
Yeah, without a doubt. It's gone well. But thanks for the viewers and the comments. It makes it as well, just having comments that you can sort of bounce off. It makes it. So thanks for inviting me, definitely.
There's a lot of comments I wanted to go through. I was trying to save it till the end. But before you know it, you've got so many to answer that we'll be here for another half an hour. And we were meant to touch base on this at some point, but we've run out of time. Man, I've got the little one downstairs. I've got the missus saying to me, what do you mean you're going to go up there and talk about football for an hour? You don't even make £1. You don't even make £1 from being here talking about football. And that's
investment for the future. It's investment for the future.
You're being very positive with that. And maybe that's a good balance that we have, right? But listen, we do it for the love of the game. And let's hope for the future, like you say, we do make a little bit of money doing this. But either way, thank you to the viewers. Thank you to Dan. Let me just pop this up here. Thanks, David and Dan. Great stream. Thank you, Flossie. Guys, it's been emotional in the emotion room. We shall catch you next time. Have a good one.
Thank you. Peace.